Guys, welcome to this screencast on biomechanical principles, finishing on definition of centre of mass, factors affecting the position of the centre of mass, as well as the relationship between centre of mass and stability. So this is what we're going to be looking at during the screencast and further in the lesson, and this is what we've already done. So we've already defined Newton's laws, and we've looked at force and the definitions of these, and then free body diagrams and all of that. So let's just move on straight away to centre of mass. Okay, so first of all, what is centre of mass? It is simply the point at which a body is balanced in all directions. Okay, so please get that down. Now, when we're talking about a body, we're not necessarily talking about simply a human body. It can be an object as well. Now, just so you're aware, I haven't got an object on here, but for an object, this is generally in the middle of the object, the centre of mass. We looked at centre of mass when we looked at free body diagrams. However, we're going to look at it now in a bit more detail. So, first of all, it is where, or the point at which a body is balanced in all directions. So if an athlete stands in the anatomical position, um, it will be around about the navel area. Okay, so that's where the centre of mass will approximately be. Okay, now the location does depend on the distribution of the body and mass, and it can be manipulated to improve sporting performance. Okay, so for example, if we have our hands in the air, if we had our arms here even higher, the centre of mass moves up. Okay, so if we have arms higher and knee higher, for example, the centre of mass will move directly up. Okay, now if we bend our knees, the centre of mass will be lower. Okay, so if a sporting example I'm going to give to you here is a sprinter, and the centre of mass will be lower. Okay, so we have normal anatomical position, the centre of mass will be approximately in the navel area. If an athlete raises their arms, okay, up, the centre of mass will go up. If the body goes down, the centre of mass will go down. So this person, for example, is the same person in every single situation. However, their centre of mass has changed in each situation they've put themselves in. Anatomical position, navel, arms have gone up, centre of mass has gone higher. They've gone down to a sprint position, centre of mass has gone down. Now, it can be slightly more complicated than this when it comes to centre of mass within the human body, especially when we're moving. Okay, so the athlete can actually, or the athlete's centre of mass can be outside the lines of the body. Okay, and that's what we're quickly going to look at now. Okay, so the centre of mass can also move outside the body, and this kind of impacts or can have an effect on sporting performance. It can really increase sporting performance if we have the centre of mass outside of the body, because it acts as a point of rotation. Okay, so for example, we have this athlete here doing a backflip for argument's sake, and their centre of mass will be outside of their body, okay, like so. And then ultimately, this will act as a point, the centre of mass here will act as a point of rotation for them. And then if we look at someone just slumped down in that slumped position there, the centre of mass again will be outside of their body. Okay, it will move outside of the body of the athlete. So that's pretty much centre of mass. Okay, the point at which the body is balanced in all directions. Um, Anatomical position, navel, arms go up in the air, or legs go up in the air, or knee go up in the air, the centre of mass will raise. If we go lower, the centre of mass will go down. But it can actually also move outside of the body if we're moving, for example, and this can really help with sporting performance. So what we're going to look at here is how centre of mass being outside the body can impact on performance positively. I'm going to use this concrete example of a Fosbury flop in the high jump. Okay, so this is the Fosbury flop in the high jump. So athletes didn't used to jump like this over the high jump. They used to jump differently. They used to pretty much run at it and then jump as you would over a hurdle, but people weren't getting very high. And then this technique was developed. Okay, and the reasons for this is because, first of all, what happens is, if we're going to use this as a concrete example, we're going to explain how kind of centre mass can affect performance. First of all, we can say the Fosbury flop causes the centre of mass to move outside of the body, e.g., in flight, the jumper arches their back. This means that the centre of mass will follow a predetermined flight path. Okay, and we're going to talk about this predetermined flight path right now. So ultimately, what this means is the centre of mass may pass under the bar while the jumper clears the bar. And I've just kind of put where the centre of mass actually is on this jumper now here. So ultimately, what I'm saying here is only one section of the body has to be above the bar at any one time in comparison to the old school way of doing it. It was like a scissor kick technique, okay? where the whole body had to be above the bar at the same time. So the overall effect on this is because the centre of mass passes underneath the bar, the Fosbury flop requires less force to take off ultimately. So to clear the same height as earlier, as early techniques used to be, we didn't need to use as much force. So when maximising force to generate a greater takeoff, greater heights can easily be accessed. Okay, so the performer can clear the greater heights with the same effort. So simply, how does changing our centre of mass outside of our body affect performance? Well, if we use a Fosbury flop in it as an example, it causes the centre of mass to move outside of the body, e.g. in flight the jumper arches their back. Centre of mass will follow a predetermined flight path. Centre of mass may pass under the bar while the jumper clears the bar. This means the performer can clear greater heights with the same effort. Simple as that with regards to centre of mass, in terms of a sporting example of how the centre of mass becoming outside of the body can affect performance. Okay, so when we're talking about centre of mass, we also have to know that centre of mass can also affect stability, among other things. So first of all, what is stability? It's the ability of the body to resist motion and remain at rest. So that is what stability is. Okay, I'm sure we all had an idea of what stability meant, okay, before even seeing that definition there. We need to be aware of the factors that affect stability. And I'm going to give us a concrete example here of a sprinter in the blocks, okay? And then we're actually going to do a bit more on this in lesson, okay? But for now, all I need you to get down is, first of all, the actual factors that affect stability are mass of the body, the height of the centre of the mass, base of support, or the size of the base of support, and the line of gravity as well. So these are the factors that affect stability. And what we're going to do now is just describe each one, applying it to this sprinter. So how can the stability be affected of a sports performer? Okay, so mass of the body, height of the centre of the mass, and so forth. So first of all, mass of the body. The greater the mass of the body, the greater the stability. Okay, e.g. sprinters tend to have high mass, therefore they have high stability. The reason, ultimately in sport, if you think of a sumo wrestler, they have great mass, and they have to stay in a really small, quite tight circular area while they're performing their sports. They need to have great stability. So they're a true example of like an athlete having high mass and high stability. However, we're sticking this to the sprinter. So sprinters tend to have high mass, therefore they have high stability. Height of the centre of mass. The lower the centre of mass, the greater the stability. Okay, so a sprinter preparing in the blocks has maximum stability, okay, because they're nice and low in the blocks. Size of the base of support. The greater the size of the base of support, the greater the stability. So if we're thinking about this sprinter now, the sprinter has 5 points of contact, okay, and then they have the hand placements nice and wide. So they're kind of points of contact are 2 feet, 2 hands, and a knee. Okay, so they have that strong base of support, that great size of the base of support. They have greater stability. And then finally, line of gravity is simply the more central the line of gravity to the base of support, the greater the stability. And simply, a sprint in the blocks, line of gravity falls within their base of support. Make sure you have really good key questions on this. I want key questions on descriptions of centre of mass and stability. I want how centre of mass can be affected in terms of being outside of the body, inside of the body. When the centre of mass is higher is because arms have gone up, knees have gone up, etc. So those questions on this, as well as factors affecting stability. Thank you.